Let me tell you why you shouldn't play with your shadow. Scary story time. So, my godfather, he watches my TikToks a lot, and obviously, he loved my content, and he's also Haitian. And he called me the other day, and he was like, I have so many stories for you to tell your followers of things that happened to me when I was in Haiti, and this is one of them. So, he said he was really young at the time, like he was a young boy, and one night, right before his bedtime, he was just playing around. And for some reason, he just started playing with his shadow, just dancing with his shadow. He was dancing and dancing and dancing, and he was having a great time. And finally, when it was time for him to go to bed, he went to bed. And this is when it starts. Have y'all ever heard of the Hat Man? The man in the hat that supposedly is in everybody's dream, right? When he was telling me this story, y'all, he didn't even know who the Hat Man was. And I had to tell him, I was like, yo, he was in your dream too? Anyways, he goes to sleep and he wakes up in the middle of the night. He said he was dreaming, but it wasn't a dream. Like like the way it felt, it was not a dream. He woke up, but it was not a dream. I don't know how to explain it. I hope that like makes sense. Anyways, he wakes up and there's the Hat Man. The Hat Man walks into his room and just looks at him with this like creepy smile. He is terrified, y'all. So then the Hat Man walks closer to him, and guess what he tells him? Come dance with me. Come dance with me. And as he's saying, come dance with me, he's backing up. He's like, come dance with me. Come dance with me. He's backing up. And as he backs up, he gets to the door, he stops. And all of a sudden, my godfather hears drums outside. Now, if you're Caribbean, you know it's not just like the regular drums, but like the tambu. And if you know tambu, you know tambu sounds like that was a terrible interpretation, but you get it. And it sounds like there is a party outside. And as soon as the drum starts going, the Hat Man starts dancing right there in front of him. And the dance that he was doing, my godfather said is so creepy. At this point, he's crying. Like he's a young boy, and at this point, he is in tears, y'all. And the Hat Man is just it just keeps telling him, come dance with me, come dance with me, come dance with me. He's dancing and is telling him, come dance with me. He's dancing. It's like and it's like a whole lot of people outside. You hear the people outside dancing and partying, kind of like a ritual, right? My godfather is screaming, crying. So then his mom, for some reason, she knew what was going on. I don't know how, but she knew what was going on. She came into that room, took him, and took him to her room. Now, obviously, she didn't see anything in the room. It was only my godfather that saw everything that was happening. Oh, but the story doesn't end there. So he goes to his mom's room, and of course, he feels a little bit safer, because he's with his mom. So he goes back to sleep. Then he starts dreaming again. But this time, the dream was a little different. He starts dreaming that he's somewhere in his neighborhood home, right? And then he sees this group of people in all white. Everybody is dressed in all white. And then when he says this to me, he goes, this is why till this day I think all white parties are really some kind of ritual, bro, and people don't even know. But anyway, so everybody is in all white. And guess what? Same thing, except the Hat Man is not there. It's all different types of people. And then there's this lady, and it's the same thing. Drums, everybody's dancing, and he starts getting scared all over again because now he's having a nightmare. And there's this lady that steps out, and the lady comes and says, come dance with us. Come on, come dance with us. Come dance with us. And he books it. And the lady, he vividly remembers the face of this lady because obviously like it was terrifying for him in his dream. So he books it, he runs, whatever. He wakes up. It's the next day. It's fine. But it doesn't end there. The next day, while he's home, guess who comes in front of his house? The lady that he saw from the dream. The lady comes in front of his house where his mother was and starts cursing at his mother and start cursing at him. And I mean, she's cursing. I mean, she's going. She is going and she's like cursing them out for no reason. And she's saying like hurtful things that would piss you off, things that would make you want to punch somebody. But his mom says nothing. And his mom looks at him and says, do not respond. Do not say anything. She tells my godfather to get in the house. And he does, but she stays outside. And mind you, the lady is only getting madder because she's not getting a response. She's going in. Mind you, she was causing a scene. Like, people are starting to gather around to figure out, like, what is this lady's problem? And finally, once she realizes that his mom knows what she's doing and she's not responding, she starts to pick up rocks and throwing it at the house, throwing it at the house. And all his mom did was look at her and say, I know you're here for my son, but you won't be getting him. And just gets in the house and says nothing else to her. And eventually, she leaves. Now, what happened was they wanted her son. They wanted her son's soul. She knew that, but we don't know how she knew that. But then again, it's our elders. Like, there's certain things that they just know and that we don't. And my godfather almost says that, like, till this day, he asked his mother, like, how did you know? Now, I think the lesson in this story is that you don't always have to engage with everybody that tries to get on your nerves. When the enemy is trying you, you don't have to always engage, because sometimes that's what they want. They want you to respond. You ever heard the saying, soon as you get angry, you lose? Well, sometimes you lose just for even responding. She was looking for a response. Had his mom said, oh, bitch, who you talking to? Da, 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 da. That's it right there. That's all she needed. Now her son is gone. Had her son said something, that's all she needed. Now her son is gone. Not everybody that's trying you, you need to respond to. You understand what I mean? You really need to learn in this world, bro. This is an evil world, especially with like witchcraft and stuff. You need to know, bro. You need to understand that you don't have to engage in everything. Sometimes you have to know to just walk away, not because you're pussy, not because of any other reason, but for your own well-being. Your pride can get you killed. He told me a couple of other stories too. So, with great lessons just like this one. Let me know if y'all want me to tell that story, and I'll make a story time. In Haiti, when it hits a certain time, you cannot be outside. Scary story time. So I just woke up from a nap, so don't mind the whole flushed look. And y'all know I love doing these stories while unboxing something, and this is a wig from Amazon. Anyways, this story is actually my dad's story. He told me this story last night, y'all. When I tell y'all I've been fishing for stories for y'all. Anyways, so in Haiti, you know at a certain time, like 8 o'clock, you ain't supposed to be outside. Past 8 o'clock, when it's dark, that's luau time. You know to be home. Because the luau's are outside waiting for somebody to be called lacking. Anyways, he was really young at the time, right? And his aunt had just got this brand new TV. And mind you, this is like back in the day. So TVs were kind of like fairly a new thing. So him and my uncle begged my grandma to let them go to my aunt's house, well, their aunt's house, my aunt's house, to watch some TV. So my grandma said, fine, you guys can go, but make sure you guys come back on time. Like, don't. So, full disclaimer for the future stories that I'm going to tell you. My dad, I don't want to say he was the bad child, but my uncle was the good child that followed by all the rules. My dad also was a good child, but he was more of like a adventurous person. For example, when my uncle would probably walk away from a fight, my dad wouldn't. You get the gist. So anyways, they go to my uncle's house. They go at 5 o'clock, and my grandma told them to come back in an hour. They go, they're watching TV. At this time, it's about like 6:30, almost 7. So my uncle realizes the time. Of course, he's the responsible one. He's like, let's go home. It's getting late. It's about to be dark outside. So let's go home. My dad's like, yeah, 5 more minutes. Give me 5 more minutes. Let me finish watching this. 5 more minutes. So my uncle's like, all right, 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes pass. And my uncle's like, it's been 5 more minutes. We have to go. We're going to get in trouble. Also, full disclaimer, my grandma did not play with these boys, okay? She was a single parent raising 2 boys by herself. She did not play. Anyway, so my uncle's like, it's time to go. Like, let's go. And my dad is like, yeah, but this isn't finished. You go. I'm right behind you. I promise you, I'm right behind you. You go. Go ahead, go. And my uncle's like, no, I'm not leaving you. Like, no, let's go. And my dad is like, no, brother, just give me I got you. I promise you, I got you. I'm right behind you. Just go. I'm coming. Mind you, it's already late enough that my uncle don't even want to be walking the streets by himself. So he's like, all right, All right, whatever. So he goes and he like books it. He's running the whole way home because it's already dark. Like it just got dark. It's already dark and he's already scared. He don't want to get caught by nothing. You get it. If you get it, you get it. So he books it home. He makes it home. And my dad is still watching TV. And at this point, 2 hours pass. Now, this is definitely luga time. And then some more time passes. And then my dad just happens to take his eye off the TV. This is nice. It's a bob wig. He happens to take his eyes off the TV just to look around, and everybody else, his cousins, are sleeping. And then he looks up at the clock. It is 10 p.m., y'all. And if you know in Haiti, 10 p.m. for you to be walking the streets is insane. So the realization starts to hit him. And at this point, he was more scared of the ass whooping he was going to get more than the fact that he has to walk through the streets at night with all these lugaus walking around. So he books it. He's running home. And he told me at this point, in my mind, I don't care about nothing that's going on in the street. I'm scared about this ass whooping. And if anything happens to come my way, I swear it won't stop me from getting home. He's booking it home. And as he's like literally close, like around the corner from the house, he sees this chicken with all her chicks walking. Mind you, he's a little boy. He don't really he knows weird stuff be happening, but he doesn't really know exactly what to expect. He sees these chicken, so he's like, okay, chicken, I'm home. My house is right there. I don't really care about that right now. So as he's trying to go to his house, the chicken gets in front of him to block him. So he's like, okay, so he tries to go around and they get in front of him again to block him. And then he tries to go another way, like around them again, and they get in front of him again to block him. Now, remember how I told y'all, my father, he had a little bit of a temper. And he already imagines this ass whooping he's about to get, so he don't care about no chickens right now. So he kicks all the chickens. He kicks all of the chicks out of his way and ran into the house. And my uncle, being the good wingman that he was, he left the door open for my dad because, he was supposed to be right behind him. Now, to my dad's luck, he gets home and my uncle's sleeping and so is my grandma. So he's off the hook. Bro, he was telling me the story. He's like, I'm so happy because I'm off the hook. But little did I know, my problems had just started. So he's getting ready for bed. He's super happy that he didn't get that ass whooping. He got away with it, so he goes to sleep very calmly. He's having the best sleep of his life, right? Now, remember when I said my grandma didn't play with these boys? She didn't do none of that double standard stuff. They got up early in the morning, did their chores, cooked, did their laundry as a girl would. Except she never actually had a girl. I was her first granddaughter. That's why I was so spoiled. Anyways, but at this time it was summer vacation, so she kind of went easy on them. So the next day, she let them sleep in. She doesn't really wake them up to do chores as she would. So my daddy's having the best sleep of his life until he gets woken up by my grandma. And I'm about to reenact this for you so y'all really get the picture. My grandma goes, wake up. My daddy, having the best sleep of his life, goes, what happened? Get up right now. My daddy, who has no idea what's happening, goes, come on. So my grandma goes, leve et puis flunk budo sushesa, which translates to, get up and get your ass in that chair right now. So now my daddy's up because he knows when my grandma speaks like this, it's serious. So guess what he did? He got his ass in that chair. Now, before we continue, a little backstory. There was this guy, their neighbor, who lived right behind them. And there was always rumors that he was a lugao. It was never confirmed, but it was just always rumors. People always, there was words going around. So that morning when my grandma woke up, that neighbor came to her to complain about my dad. The neighbor told her that my dad is disrespectful. My dad disrespected him. And had he not been my grandma's son, he would have dealt with him. But since my grandma's a good person, he's coming to my grandma to let her know that my dad is a disrespectful little boy. Now, my grandma, knowing her son, she knows that her son is in no way, shape, or form disrespectful. If you get disrespectful with him, He may match your energy, but he has never been the type to go and disrespect elders or whatever. He minded his business until somebody tries him, then he matches energy. She knows he didn't raise no disrespectful little boy. So she asked him, "What did he do? Like, what did he say something to you?" And the neighbor would not tell her what my dad did, but he just kept saying that he was super disrespectful. And my grandma kept asking him, like, "Okay, I hear you, but like, let me know what he did so that I can deal with him." And he still refused to tell her exactly what my dad did, but he just kept saying, "Your little boy is disrespectful." So my grandma's like, "Okay, well, since you don't want to tell me, I'm about to go find out for myself." Fast forward, now we're back to the story. My dad is in the chair, and my grandma asks him, "What time did you get home last night?" And he goes, "Oh, I came home right on time. Me and my brother, we came home really early. We got home, and then, we came home on time." And my grandma goes, "So I'm a joke to you, huh?" And my dad immediately goes, "Okay, okay, okay. I came home late. I'm sorry. I was watching TV. I got distracted and I came home really late. But I ran all the way home and I got home and I went to sleep. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." And my grandma asked him, "What did you do?" And my dad is like, I didn't do anything. I know I came home late, but I swear I ran all the way home and that's it." So my grandma goes, "Kunyawa ba mati? Al febudo whoosh," which translates to, "So now you lying. I'm about to turn your ass red." So now my dad is terrified because he's telling the truth. He's like, "I swear I didn't do anything. I came straight home." And he keeps pleading the fifth. And my grandma, being my grandma, she knows who her son is. And she knows when her son is telling the truth. So she kind of figures he's telling the truth, but clearly something happened for the guy to say that to her. So now she starts asking him questions. "On your way home, did you speak to anybody?" "No." "On your way home, did you see anything weird?" "No." Now keep in mind the whole chicken thing. My dad is like, it's nothing to him. He sees chickens all the time. That, like, he didn't even think nothing of it. He doesn't even remember that happened. So my grandma's asking all these questions. She keeps getting a no. So now she's getting mad. She's like, "You're lying to me, and I'm about to whoop you so bad." And my dad is still pleading the fifth. So my grandma finally asked him, "Did you see any animals or anything like that?" My dad goes, "No, I didn't see. Oh wait, no, I saw some chickens, but that's it. It was like right in front of the house, and I came right home." And my grandma goes, "You saw chickens at 10:30 p.m.?" He's like, "Yeah, but it's chickens. We have chickens all over the place. We see chickens all the time." And my grandma goes, "Stupid ass. Chickens do not come out at night. They never come out at night. Chickens at nighttime, they are in their nest. You see a chicken at night, that is not a chicken." So my dad is like, "Oh, I didn't know that." And my dad telling me the story, he's like, "Now I'm scared. Now I'm really scared. Now I think that luga is gonna come after me on this bright early morning." Now that he's realizing the severity of the situation, he's like, "Oh my God." And my grandma asked him, "What did you do when you saw the chicken?" And my dad told her the chickens kept blocking me when I was trying to get into the house, so I kicked it. And when my grandma heard that, she was like, "Oh, this ass whooping I'm about to give you." And my dad tells me, y'all, he got an ass whooping of his life that day. Oh, she tore his ass up. And y'all, guess who had to come and save him? That same neighbor that complained about him. He heard everything that was going on, and he came in the house and saved my dad from my grandma. He came like, "Okay, okay, that's enough, that's enough." And he took my dad outside away from my grandma. And my grandma is putting on a show. My grandma is like, "Since you want to take him outside, keep him there. He ain't coming back in my house, not being disrespectful to people. He's not coming back in my house." And now he's talking to my dad like, "It's okay, calm down. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. She's just mad right now. Just let her cool off." And my dad is like, "I'm looking at this man as a savior. He just saved me from the ass whooping of my life. So now I feel like I owe him my life." So he goes inside and he speaks to my grandma, and then he comes back out and he tells my dad, "Don't worry, you can go back in right now. She's not gonna whoop you anymore. She's not, everything's good. I spoke to her. She's fine. She's calm." So y'all remember after y'all got an ass whooping what the attitude was like. So my dad is like, "I hate everything right now. Like, I hate everything." I go home. I go inside. It's true, she didn't do anything to me anymore, but I am furious. I'm mad at everybody. I'm mad at the world. And so then my grandma cooks my dad his favorite food and gives it to him. And she sits next to him. And she goes, there are rules for a reason. There's a reason why you're not supposed to be walking at night in this town. And my dad not even trying to hear her right now. He's so mad at her. So she tells him, I really didn't want to have to do that, but in order to protect you, I had to. So then she tells him what the guy told her. And now knowing what my dad told her happened with the chickens, my grandma being my grandma, she knows about all of this stuff. Turns out the guy is a luga, and this situation basically confirmed all the rumors. He had turned into a chicken, and all the chicks are other lugaus that work with him that are out on the streets at night waiting for their next victim. And he saw my dad, and he didn't really care that he knew who my dad was. You know that this boy lives right next to you, but you still tried to get him because remember, they tried to block him. And my grandma goes, if I didn't do what I did, we would have been in a lot of trouble. I'm not saying they would have got you, but they would have tried to a lot, and I would have had to do a lot of things that I didn't want to do. We've been here for years. We've minded our business for a very long time. Never been in any trouble, and I didn't want to start now. So that ass whooping was a show so that this guy didn't feel like he told my grandma what happened, and my grandma didn't do anything about it. She just let her son do whatever. And if you know Haitian people, especially Haitian people that do voodoo, are very spiteful. So a lot of black magic would have started going around. But now that she did what she did, and he had to be the one to save her, it's all good. He himself, he felt bad after he heard my dad get that ass whooping. So once my grandma sat him down and explained to him, afterwards he was like, oh, okay, I get it. He wasn't mad at my grandma anymore. He even was like, okay, I think they hugged, they made up, and that's the end of the story. So, moral of this story is don't be a badass little kid like my dad because rules are there for a reason, and this definitely could have turned real ugly. So y'all know how I be telling y'all to stop messing with things that y'all don't know about? Scary story time. And yes, this story is my dad's story also. Yo, why did I already record this story and halfway through the story the sound went out? My damn mic done died in the middle of me telling y'all the story and I didn't even notice. So when my dad was a teenager, there was always like gang violence going on in Haiti, just like it is now, except now it's like so much worse. Back then, it was really more so robbing. Like at nighttime, they would break into your house at pew pew point, rob you, and leave. Sometimes there'll be some wild ones that would really somebody, but yeah. So what some communities did is that they did their own neighborhood watch. So a lot of the people in the neighborhood would get together. Some were cooking, some were keeping watch, which was my dad and his friends. So like the teenagers and a couple of older people too. They were keeping watch. Some had a machete, some had a hammer, you know, as long as you were armed and you were outside. But at the same time, they had fun with it. Like they would be playing dominoes while, you know, keeping watch. So there was this guy that was part of the neighborhood watch. And I put it in quotations because he was part of it. But what he would do was he'd come, eat the food, and go to sleep. He would do that all the time. So he wasn't really there to watch. He was really there for the food. So one night, he came for his shift, ate some food, put a cover on the floor, went to sleep. And my dad was there. My dad and his friends, they were there that night. And they were all just talking about it. Like, this guy, he just come for food. So my dad is like, let's teach him a lesson. My dad, being the type of person that he is, he decides to prank the guy. And he decides to make sure that the pranks teaches him to stay up and actually do his job. Now, before I go on, let me explain something to y'all so y'all get the next part of the story. So one thing with like voodoo in Haiti, when people are having like their rituals, you know, the voodoo rituals with like the dancing and the whatever chanting, they would have this white powder. If you know, you know. That white powder, you better hope you never cross it. However, in this case, that white powder, they like spread it all over the floor into like weird shapes or languages or whatever. I don't really know much about it. I just know that they use it as part of the ritual. And so did my dad. Now back to the story. So there was a house right next to where they were at that was under construction. So my dad went over there and got some sand that looked pretty white, pretty close to the white powder. Now at this point, everybody knows about the prank. My dad already came up with the prank and everybody's on board. Everybody's laughing about it. They cannot wait to see his reaction. So my dad gets the sand and my dad being the prankster that he is, he spreads it all over the guy on the floor, but in a coffin shape. And once he was done with that, he spreads it nearby and like some weird shapes and forms. You know, he wasn't doing anything specific, but he was trying to look like what it would really look like. Once he's done, everybody's excited to see his reaction, but they all left him there by himself, and they move a couple houses up so that they can still keep watch, still see him and see his reaction when he wakes up. So they move a couple houses up. My dad sits on top of this huge wall, so he's really high up. He can really see everything. Him and his friends are sitting there chatting. And as they're speaking, my dad notices down the street, there's somebody there. So my dad tells everybody, hey, y'all, there's somebody standing down the street. So now everybody kind of like, you know, that's their job. They kind of like, yeah, who's that? As they're talking about the person being down the street, they look again, and there's two more people. Which was weird because it didn't look like they were coming from somewhere. It was more so they were appearing out of nowhere. And then as they start talking about that, more people start to appear. And this time they really start to look, and they notice that everybody down there is in all white. Now they know what's going on. They know them ain't people. And they also know that because they've been having this neighborhood watch, the people, the lugaos that need to do what they need to do at night can't really do it because it's too active in the streets. So now everybody like, oh, I don't know. Some people start to talk about, oh, yeah, I think I'm going to go home. But my dad is like, I ain't going home. I'm not going nowhere. I'm going to sit right here. I'm going to stand right here. And some of my dad's friends, they're like, yeah, I'm going to sit right here. I'm not bothering nobody, you know. And as they're talking about that, they look again, only this time the block was full of people, like a lot of them, and they're all in all white. Now everybody started getting really scared, including my dad. Now he kind of like, oh shit. And my dad tells me it's like they can sense our fear because they looked at us and start walking towards us. And the moment they start walking towards us, everybody ran for it. Everybody books it. Some people are running with no direction because they don't even live nearby. Some people do live nearby, so they run into their houses. And my dad's grandma's house was nearby. That's why he was there. So him and his friends, they run to his grandma's house. Only when they get there, the gate is locked. So my dad is upset because the people in the neighborhood know never to lock their doors, especially on nights that they're doing neighborhood watch. So he's banging on the door. Him and his friends are banging on the door, cursing, open the door, open the gate, open the gate. And y'all, guess who opens the gate for them? Mind you, while all of this is going on, they completely forgot about the guy on the floor that they were pranking. The guy that was on the floor that they were supposed to prank opens the gate for them. My dad is like, Blizzy, I don't even know I don't know how he got there first. I don't know when he got there first. I didn't even see him run there. So he opens the gate, they get in, they go inside the house, and they all lay on the floor. They're quiet. They're still kind of like, you know, they're still joking about it and laughing about it because they're like, yo, how did you get here? How you get here before us? Anyways, after things calm down, they sit up, they're all joking and talking about it. And turns out the guy, everybody running woke him up. When everybody started to run, it woke him up. And he woke up, saw the whole coffin thing going on, saw everything. And then he looked and see a whole bunch of people in all white walking towards him. So he ran and he opened the gate and locked it. So they're all laughing about it. And my dad tells him, my dad is like, you know what? I'm kind of glad. I'm really glad that you actually were able to save yourself because we forgot about you. And if something were to happen to you, that would have been on me. People would have started saying that I pretended like it was a prank, but I was really setting you up and sending somebody out to get you. So whatever, they joke about it, they laugh about it, that's done. However, my dad is like, oh my God, I think I summoned those things. By him trying to do a prank and messing with something that, you know, doing something that he thought was harmless, he summoned these things. And now he's scared because he's scared that not only did he summon these things, but he summoned them for no reason. So now they're going to be like, oh, so you think we're a joke. So you summoned us over here for no reason as a joke. Now we're about to teach you a lesson for playing around with stuff you shouldn't be playing around with. Because that's how it usually goes. So my dad said after that day, he was very, very careful in that town. It wasn't his house, it was his grandma's house. So he visited a little less, but whenever he did, he was very careful because you never know. So, moral of the story is, like I always tell y'all, stop doing things that you see that you think is harmless, especially when it has to do with witchcraft. Stop listening to these witches on this app that know nothing about nothing. They read a book, they did some Google research, and think they know about everything. 9 times out of 10, they never even stepped out of the US. But they put out these spells on TikTok and how to do this and these love spells, and you're doing them not knowing. You're messing with something. You're attaching yourself to something you shouldn't be messing with. Because y'all, I promise y'all, these people, if I was to take them to Haiti, Africa, Jamaica, to the real things, they would shit themselves. And I promise you they would want nothing to do with witchcraft ever again. Stop sleeping with married men. Scary story time. And y'all, sit down and strap in. This is another one of my dad's stories, and it gets real. By now, y'all should know a lot of crazy things have happened to my dad. But y'all should also know that a lot of those crazy things happened to him because he was born with a gift. When he was born with this thing called coif. That is when you're born and your umbilical cord was wrapped around your neck. And it is believed that anybody that's born like that is born with a gift. So when my grandma gave birth to him, she knew, and she told him that his entire life. But he always took it with a grain of salt. Like, he heard her say it all the time, but it was just like, eh. It wasn't until this happened to him that he actually believed. Even though he had situations where he would see things that other people couldn't see, he would hear things where other people couldn't see. It took this story to convince him. Anyways, he had this girlfriend at the time, right? And he would go to her house all the time on a schedule. He would go from 6 p.m. and leave around like maybe 9:30, 10. But mind y'all, by that time, he's grown. Like, he's in his 20s. And he was always over there just to, hang out with his girl. And one day he goes to his girl's house as usual. They're hanging out. The house his girlfriend lived at was a two-story family home. She lived upstairs, and the upstairs part had a balcony. And they would sit there and hang out. Now, right next to that house, there is an abandoned house. It was so abandoned that the grass grew so tall, like it was really tall, almost as tall as him. So you can imagine how tall the grass was. So anyways, one night they're sitting there hanging out. And my dad says as he's sitting there, he starts to feel uncomfortable. He's not sure why he's feeling uncomfortable, but he just, something feels wrong. Something just is not right. And he starts to like fidget in his chair because his intuition is telling him something is wrong. And his girl asks him, like, are you okay? He's like, no, like something's wrong. Now, mind you, the next door house that I told you about, it was mostly land. There was a house there, but it was mostly land. And it was a really huge land. So the grass was a lot. Imagine cornfield. And so as he's sitting there, he starts to hear the grass moving, like something is moving through the grass. And he tells his girl, do you hear that? And his girl's like, hear what? Do you hear the grass? Like, there's something, I hear something moving through it. And his girlfriend's like, no, I don't hear anything. And as he's like asking his girl, does she hear it? It's getting louder and louder. So he gets up from his chair to overlook the land to see what's going on, like what's making all that noise. And as he's standing there on the balcony and he's overlooking the land, he sees something moving through the grass, like the grass is moving as if something is running through it. And he tells his girl, look, I knew there was something wrong. Look, do you see that? And she gets up and she looks. She's like, I don't see anything. And he's like, what do you mean you don't see anything? There's something in the thing and it's moving. Like the grass is moving all over the place. There's something running through it. And at this point, his girl starts getting scared because she does not see anything. And my dad starts to get a little frustrated because now he thinks that she's playing a joke on him. Because you can clearly see the grass, like there's something running through the grass. And she keeps saying she don't see it. How can you not see that? And at this point, he's asking her and he's getting frustrated and he can see the fear in her eyes because she honestly does not see anything. And he's like, you know what? I don't got to deal with this tonight. I'm going home. And his girl's like, no, you don't have to go. Don't leave. Let's just go inside. Forget all of this. Let's just go inside and we'll just relax and forget about it. Of course, that didn't happen, but he agreed. They go inside, they sit, and they start to talk about it. And at this point, he's getting kind of mad because he's like, why are you taking me as a joke? Like, just tell me you saw the thing. And she's telling him, like, I swear to you, I did not see or hear anything. And as they're talking about it, there is this loud scream downstairs. And the person that screams is going off. Not like normal cursing going off. Of course, they're cursing, but it's like screaming at the top of their lungs, like running through the place. You can hear the person run outside and is screaming. And at this point, you can hear other people start to gather around. And my dad's girlfriend is terrified because of what just happened. And now this is going on. And my dad looks at her like, shush, don't say anything. That is none of our business. until one of the girls that lives downstairs runs up the stairs, comes to their door, and starts knocking. She's knocking and knocking. She's like, please, we need help. We need help. Can somebody please help us? And my dad's looking at his girlfriend like, do not respond. Don't say anything. And his girlfriend does not know what to do with herself. She's so scared. And so the girl says her name. She says, this is so and so from downstairs. And it's a good friend of theirs, like the neighbor. Now, my dad told my girlfriend not to answer because it could have been anything. Like, don't answer the door to, nothing you don't know about. But when the girl identified herself and they recognize her voice and they know that it's her, my dad's like, okay, I'll go to the door. So he slightly opened the door and the girl's like, please, Prince, I need your help. I need your help. Prince is my dad's artist name. He was really popular in like the late 90s, early 2000s when it came to rap in Haiti. Anyway, she's like, Prince, please, we need your help. We need a man downstairs. It's all us. It's all girls. We need someone downstairs to help us. Now, before I go on with the story, let me give you a little backstory. The girl downstairs that's screaming, she is in her 20s. However, her boyfriend, who is married and that she knew about, is in his 60s. She was really only with him because he was giving her money. She knew that he had a wife and the wife lived out here in the US. Wife and kids and everything. She was very well aware, but she didn't care. She ends up getting pregnant and has the guy's baby, the old guy. Now, when she got pregnant, the old guy moved her into this apartment that she's in right now, which is downstairs from my dad's girlfriend's house. The baby is born and everything. Baby was a newborn. However, his wife found out that he has a girlfriend in Haiti and she just had a baby for him. And she wasn't very happy about it. So if you're Haitian, you know how this goes. She sent money to Haiti to have them send a zombie to the girl to unalive the girl and the baby. So now that's the situation that we're in. What my dad heard in the grass, the land, was the zombie coming through. And now the zombie got her. She is in her. It's not even her anymore. It's the zombie. And now she's trying to unalive her baby. That's what all the screaming is about. It's all girls down there and everyone is trying to hold her back from harming her baby. Now back to the story. So the girl's like, Prince, please help us. We're all girls down there and it's too much for us to handle. We cannot handle it. So my dad let his good heart and ego get the best of him. And he's like, well, I am the only guy here right now. And if they need my help, like, what would I look like if I didn't really help them? Although he didn't really know what he was walking himself into. He thought that maybe they just needed a man to, stop a fight or something. So he goes downstairs and he realizes what's going on because she is acting crazy. Like, she is continuously trying to attack her baby and they're trying to keep her away from the baby. And this is all happening outside, by the way. They're not inside the house anymore. Imagine exorcism type possessed. That's how she was. So my dad says he gets downstairs and it's just a whole bunch of girls just going based off of emotions. Of course, they're scared, but they don't know what to do. And they just they're confused. So he says, all right. So he takes the girl and he is holding her back because the other girls weren't strong enough to hold her back for real. And as he's holding her back, he tells them, where is the baby father? They tell him, well, he works overnight. And he goes, I don't care if he works overnight. Somebody call him and get him here now. So that's what they did. They called him and he got there as fast as he could. Now he's freaking out. This is an old man. He's kind of caught up on what's going on. Clearly that's not her. And clearly if you Haitian, you already know that's a zombie. That ain't her. You don't need no explanation for that. So he picks up his phone and he calls a mumble that he knows. Now a mumble is a voodoo priestess. So he calls the mumble. He's like begging her. He's like, the mother of my child, somebody sent her a zombie and she's trying to attack my baby. I need your help. And she lived kind of far, so he's like, I'll come pick you up if you need to. I know it's really late, but I really need to come get you. And she says, don't worry, I'm actually in the area, so I'll be there in about 10 to 15. So he says, okay. He's a little relieved because she's on her way and she's going to fix this. Fast forward like 10 to 15 minutes later, she shows up and she shows up prepared. She shows up with a couple of people. She shows up with all her tools and equipment that she needs for what she needs to do. And she shows up with this gallon of water. And if y'all watched my last video, I told y'all about the liquor bottle with the herbs. She showed up with that too. She walks straight to the girl who's possessed by the zombie and just is staring at her. And the zombie goes, the fuck you looking at? And she responds to the zombie and says, oh, so you got some balls too, huh? And she asked the zombie, who sent you? Now, if you Haitian, you already know that is the number one question whenever there's a situation like that where a zombie possesses somebody. You always have to ask, where did you come from? Like, who sent you? And the zombie, 9 times out of 10, they ain't gonna tell you who really sent them. They're just like, I don't know. So that's what the zombie said. He said, I don't know. I just know I'm here to kill her in that baby. And as he's saying in that baby, he lunges for the house once again to try to get to the baby, and they hold her back. So the lady steps back a little bit, and she stands there for a couple of seconds and looks around. And this is where it starts getting crazy, because as she's standing there, she says, "There's someone here that I can't do my work without. You know who you are, so please step forward and come and help me do what I need to do." And so everybody's like looking at each other like, well, who is it? And nobody's stepping up. And my dad is like, "Ooh, this tea is getting hot. I wonder who this is, huh?" And she says again, "Please, we don't have much time. Can you please just come out and help me?" So, what does January 6th mean in the Haitian culture? Scary story time. This story is my godfather's story this time, but before I tell you, let me give you a little background. So, January 6th is called the Day of the Kings. It is a huge celebration day in the voodoo culture. They have a feast, they celebrate, they dance, you get the gist. But remember when I told y'all in Haiti at a certain time you should not be walking outside? Well, that rule goes especially for that day, because everybody's outside. All types of things are going on because they are celebrating. Now to the story. So this was back in his younger days, and around that time he said he used to live in La Plaine. If you were Haitian, you know. And kind of like my dad, that's why they were best friends, and he's my godfather. He was also, the type to be coming home late because he want to go see his girl, want to go party, And he be coming home at like 1, 2 in the morning, walking at night. Yeah, I know. So one day, which happens to be January 6th, but he didn't really pay attention to that. Like, he knew it was January 6th, but he didn't really think oh, it's January 6th. So of course, it's like 1, 2 in the morning, he's coming from his girl's house, he's walking home. And there's like no one on the street. The streets are empty. As he's walking, he starts to notice a whole bunch of dogs coming out the woodwork. And they're like coming towards him. And there was like 3 of them. And he starts to notice that those aren't normal dogs. Soon as they get near him, they stop and start growling, and then they start barking very loudly, as if to kind of like threaten him and scare him. And now to him, it feels like he just walked into something he was not supposed to be walking into. So he's like, all right, act normal, act normal. So he's still walking, like he's still making his way home. And he's thinking in his head, maybe I'm overthinking it. Like, there's dogs everywhere all the time. But he knew those weren't dogs. So as he's trying to walk past them, it's like one of the dogs did this kind of weird bark language type thing. And that bark was as if like he's alerting other dogs down the street to let them know that he's coming, so that they can be ready to do what it do. So now he's like, oh shoot, okay, now I gotta be on 10 toes. So he picks up 2 big ass rocks on the floor just in case. And he continues to walk, but as he continues to walk, he hears all kinds of dogs coming from everywhere as if to block him down the street. And they did, because once he started walking a little more, he was surrounded by dogs. They literally circled him, and they were pissed. Like, the way they were barking, he said it seemed like they were saying, how dare you? How dare you walk in this street at this time? Do you know what day it is? Kind of like as if a Crip was to walk into a Bloods block. Kind of like that. Like, what? Who do you think you are walking in here? So then he's like, alright. So he stops and he looks at them and he says, listen, I'm going about my business. Y'all should go about y'all business. I got these rocks in my hand. I don't know what y'all up to, what y'all think y'all about to do. But if y'all think y'all about to take me out, I promise y'all one of y'all are going with me. He's like, y'all see these rocks in my hand? It's a couple of y'all's brains that's going to be bashed towards this floor right now if y'all don't let me do what I need to do. And right after he says that, one of the dogs walks in front as if he's like the leader of all the dogs, right? And he does that weird language bark again, as if he's like, I swear, man, it's like they got their own dog language. It's not barking, but it sounds like barking, but you could tell like they're talking to each other. And as soon as like the leader dog said something to them, they all started like backing up, and they opened up the road again for him to go home. And as he's walking past them, he just remembers not to look back. Because if you were taught one thing, if you're ever in a situation like that, never look back. And as he's thinking about that, that's when it came to his mind like, oh shit, it's January 6th. And as he's going down the road, because he wasn't too far from his house, he sees some other dogs, but they weren't barking at him. They're just like letting him go. So he gets home, he goes to sleep. Fast forward in the morning, His landlord comes to talk to his mom to tell his mom that they have to go, that he's breaking the lease and they have to leave and they have to leave now. Mind y'all, they have been living there for years. But he's like, nah, y'all gotta go. And he was very serious about it. He didn't say why. He's just telling them that they have to go. And after that happens, he's going somewhere, minding his business. And as he's walking down his block, almost every neighbor on that block are standing by their houses just looking at him like in such disgust. Like he's just so disrespectful. They're looking at him like they know who he is. Y'all know how the elderly neighbors just be looking at you sometimes like you this bad kid? Kind of like that. So they did indeed ended up leaving because like the landlord was not hearing it. So yeah, moral of the story is if it's January 6th and you're in Haiti, watch yourself. When people say in their country that they turn people into animals, it's not a myth. Scary story time. I know it's been a little while since I posted a scary story time, but y'all know most of my stories are from my dad, and he's been sick. He was in the hospital for a little bit, but he's back home now and he feels a little better, and he gave me this story for y'all. So this story is also from when he was like really young. I want to say like in his teenage years, right? So he used to go to his grandma's house all the time on his father's side. And if you saw the story with the prank that he did on the guy, that's the house where he was at, his grandma's house. And there was two neighbors that was like his best friends. One's name was Jean-Jean and the other's name was Jean Raymond. But for the sake of the story, we're gonna call him JR. So basically how it was set up was there was JR's house, Jean-Jean's house, and my dad's grandma's house. But they would all usually hang out at JR's house. But they had a really bad habit of hanging out like late night on the porch. Just like talking and joking and stuff like that. Even though they know they're not supposed to be out there that late, but hard-headed teenage boys. Anyway, so one night they were sitting on the porch as usual, just hanging out. And as they're hanging out, somebody just appeared. And the way that my dad explained it to me was there's no way that that person could have walked up and they did not notice because they are on the porch. They're looking at the street. This person literally just appeared. It's as if they blinked and the person was there. And this person was this older lady in a white nightgown. They couldn't see the person's face. The person's face was like shadowy and like a black figure. They couldn't make out the person's face. But they could make out that she was wearing an all white nightgown and that her hair was all over the place as if she was electrified. And the only reason why they knew it was an older lady was by her voice because she spoke to them. So she appears and they're like frozen. They're looking at her and they're frozen. And she goes, "Hey boys, what are you guys doing out here this late?" And they're like frozen, terrified. They're all, and the way my dad said it was as if it was a choir. They all kept responding all together at the same time. So she goes, "Hey boys, what are you guys doing out here this late?" And they go, "Oh, we're just hanging out." And she responds with, "You boys know you're not supposed to be out here this late, especially not at this time." So they are terrified. They're talking to somebody who they cannot see the face, and they know that that's not a real person. So they go, "Oh, we were just going inside. We're just gonna go inside right now." And she responds with, "You boys better be careful. You should know better." At that point, they all started to get up and try to go inside. But just like she appeared, she disappeared just like that in the blink of an eye. And my dad said it was as quick as a blink because they did not take their eyes off of her. She disappeared. And as he's telling me the story, he goes, "Bro, your followers are not gonna believe this." And as he's telling me the story, it's like he's reliving it. Like he's in disbelief yet again. So the moment she disappears, they all make a run for it. JR goes inside his house. Jean-Jean runs for his house, which was not too far from JR's house, but my dad's house was the last house. So y'all know what he did? He didn't go home. He went into Jean-Jean's house. If y'all know my dad or me, like the way we were raised, we don't like sleeping over at people's houses. Like we would much rather be home. But my dad said that night, he didn't care about none of that. He went straight to Jean-Jean's house and he stayed there overnight. And Jean-Jean's parents don't mind because they were all like family. If anything, they've been trying to get him to stay over for the longest. Anyways, they go inside and they are terrified. My dad said Jean-Jean had bunk beds and Jean-Jean always liked to sleep at the top. But this night, they all got on the same bottom bunk bed together and covered themselves in the covers right after. They were both too scared of sleeping by themselves. So my dad stayed the night, and they were so terrified that next day, 10 a.m., they weren't outside. And if you know teenage boys back in the day in Haiti, 7, 8 a.m., they're outside. Especially these boys, they're always outside. But they were so terrified that their mom had to come get them out the bedroom. And when she came, she didn't come with good news. She only came to tell them, hey guys, did something happen last night? Did you hear what happened to JR? And their heart drops. They're like, what happened? So turns out, when JR went home that same night, he was sick. He was terrible the entire night. The entire night. JR was laying in his bed going, the entire night in his bed, tossing and turning as if he's in excruciating pain. And the worst part about it is, he started to grow horns. JR was about to turn into a cow, y'all. Thankfully, his family, they knew what to do. They took him for the night, took him to whatever place and did the ritual, whatever. And they were able to save him. But till this day, my dad says we don't know why it was just JR and not me or not Jean-Jean. But we just know all three of us knew what happened that night, but we never, ever spoke about it. Even JR, after he was cured, he didn't say a word about it. They never, till this day, ever spoke a single word about this. But they all knew what happened that night. Humans falling in love with mermaids? Scary story time. But the story is not actually scary. Scary story time. I'm just kidding. The story is not actually scary, but it is one of those tale stories that I learned growing up in Haiti. You guys grew up learning about the three little piggies. I grew up learning about tazan, and that's the name of the story. And throughout the rest of the story, we're gonna act like one of my eyes have lashes on. So once upon a time, in a small village in Haiti, there was a family, just a regular family. Mom and dad, a daughter and a son. Now, in that village, in order for you to have water, you had to go and fetch it. And it's usually the girl's job to get up in the morning and go fetch some water in the nearby spring. However, the spring that they usually get the water from, unfortunately, was not very clean water. But they don't really have a choice, because to get water from the next spring is like very, very far away. So whether they like it or not, they had to use that spring. So one day, she woke up as normal, went to get water from the spring, and as she was fetching the water, her gold ring that she was wearing fell in the spring. And she was just sitting there like, dang, I just lost my ring. How am I supposed to get that ring back? It's not like I can jump into the spring because it's very dirty. So she's kind of just there like, dang, I just really lost my ring. And out of nowhere, the water gets crystal clear. Like the cleanest you can see water ever. And then out came a merman. The merman started talking to her, and she started to have a conversation back, and they ended up talking for hours. And that day, for the first time ever, she was able to bring home clear water. But that caused a problem, because her parents are now like, where did you get clear water from? And this started to become like an everyday thing for a very long time. She just kept coming home with clear water. And whenever she would go to the spring, her and the merman would just talk for hours and hours about everything that they can talk about. Her parents would always question her, where are you getting clear water from? But she never told them. She never said anything. So this started to bother her mother. So one day, her mother told her little brother to follow her to the spring to find out how she's getting clear water. So he did exactly that. The next day, she's getting ready to go to the spring as usual, and he started to follow her closely behind, but she didn't notice. So when she got there, he saw the whole routine. She got there, she sat by the spring and started to sing a very specific song. The song goes like this. Tazan, who lives underwater, my good friend. Tazan, who lives underwater, my good friend. Tazan, my beloved traitor. Tazan, who lives underwater. And as soon as she stopped singing the song, the water becomes crystal clear, and out came Tazan the merman. At this point, her little brother's mouth dropped. He stayed there for a little more and watched her speak to this merman as if that's her best friend, and then he ran home as fast as he could. As soon as he got home, he went up to his parents and said, "Mommy, Daddy, she has a boyfriend and he's a fish. A huge fish. And the fish can talk." And he tells the parent the whole routine that she does when she gets there and how the water becomes clear. So her parents are shocked. And they immediately went into, "We have to stop this. We have to protect our daughter." So she finishes up as usual. She comes home and everything seems usual. The parents didn't tell her anything. They did not tell her that they knew. So the next day, as usual, she got ready, she went to the spring, she sat there, she sang the song, and out came Tazan. Only this time, Tazan was sad, and she can tell. So she asks him, "What's wrong? Like, are you okay?" And he says to her, "No, I'm not. I'm going to die. Your brother knows about us and told your parents, and they're going to kill me. They're planning on killing me today. When you get home today, they're going to send you to the market to buy groceries, and while you're gone, they're going to come and kill me. And you will know that I'm dead at exactly noon because on your left breast, there's going to be 3 drops of blood." Now, she's obviously devastated because they were in love, and as much as she didn't want to leave, she had to. So she went back home, and exactly like Tazan said, soon as she got home, they sent her to the market to buy groceries. In the whole walk to the market, she is sobbing, she's devastated, she's crying. Now, she tries to get the groceries as soon as she can so she can get back home before noon. Now, unfortunately, when she finally got everything on the list, it was noon. And she checked in her shirt, and indeed, there was 3 spots of dry blood. She screamed. She fell to her knees and started to sob, and she ran home as fast as she could. When she got home, she realized that her mother had cooked supper, so she went to the dinner table only to find that her mother cooked fish. And this just added to her pain and made her even more devastated. So she immediately ran to her room, tears in her eyes. She sat in her chair, she grabbed her comb and started to comb her hair while singing the song that she usually sings so Tazan can come out. She was singing that song over and over. And the more she was singing, it was as if the earth was being opened up and started to swallow her. But it was so slow that she didn't even notice that she was going down. She went all the way down until there was only a strand of her hair left on the ground. So her little brother, feeling a bit guilty, came to her room to check on her, only to find a strand of his sister's hair into the ground. So he immediately ran to his parents and told them, and they came to the room and they realized what happened, and obviously they were devastated because that was their daughter. In their mind, they think that because they killed that mermaid, he killed her. However, that was far from the case. She did not die. Tazan descended her into the ground because that was the only way that they can be together. Little did the parents know, they could not kill Tazan because he was a merman, a magical merman. What they also didn't know was that Tazan was actually, once upon a time, a very handsome young boy that used to also live in the village, but he got cursed by a voodoo priest and got turned into a merman. But what the voodoo priest didn't know was that he still had feelings and that he can fall in love. And the daughter now lives with Tazan underwater, happily ever after. The end. I hope y'all enjoy this little tale. There's so many stories like that I learned growing up in Haiti. I just have to remember them and find them. This one was a book. If you guys want more stories like this, please let me know. I will find them, reread them so I can tell you guys. Remember how I be telling y'all, if you hear somebody knocking on your door or you hear somebody's voice but no one is home, never open the door? Scary story time. In this story, this time is actually not my dad's story, it's my friend's story. She's also Haitian and she wanted to share her story with you guys. So when her family was supposed to come to this country, coming from Haiti, they kept it a secret. And this is actually a common thing because even with me too, when I was coming, it was an absolute secret. Nobody knew but me, my dad, and my grandma, and my uncle. And my uncle was a pastor. Well, is a pastor. But the reason for that is people are jealous and people will do anything to stop you from where you need to be. When they see you prospering and it's not them, I've seen it happen so many times in Haiti. Anyway, so that was the case for her and her family. At the time, it was her and her brother. And when I tell y'all, it was an absolute secret. Nobody knew they were coming to America but the people living in their house. It was literally top secret, which is why it was shocking to her mom when she got a phone call from a church member. Mind y'all, they weren't even that close. Like that church member, it's not like they were like best friends. It was just somebody they went to church with, and she actually lived very far too. Now, there was this lady that they knew that everybody knew was a luga, but it wasn't their business, you feel me? Like that's the lady's problem. That's her, she do her. Anyway, so the mom gets a phone call from the church member, and the church member tells her mom, I had a dream and I know that you guys are leaving. You guys are going to America, but so-and-so, the lady that's a lugao, does not like that. And she has something planned for y'all so that it does not happen. Mind y'all, they don't even know how the lugao lady found out that they're leaving. But I mean, you know, lugao. The church member tells her from her dream that she was told to tell her mom these instructions. First one is, of course, make sure that nobody else finds out. The second one was there was this uniform they used to wear to church for Saturday services. She tells them to keep that uniform and all of their clothes that they're going to wear until the day that they leave, and make sure that nobody touches those clothes. And the last thing that she told her to do was that the car that was supposed to transport them to the airport, change it. Absolutely change it. So they did all of that. They prayed, they followed directions and stuff like that, and everything worked out well. They got here thinking it was over, but woo, was it far from over. Okay, so in the last part, I almost forgot to tell you guys that part of the directions that they were supposed to follow is to the kids, like not just the kids, but everybody that was leaving was not allowed to leave the house at all until they left, because of what the lugao lady was planning, which is called an exposition. And my friend didn't know how to translate it, and I also don't know how to translate it. So if you're Haitian and you know how to translate it in English, please comment. Now, before we completely fast forward until when they got here, let's backtrack just a little bit. So a month before they came, my friend's mom had a dream, and it was basically like the house that they were gonna live in. It was somebody showing her around the house and showing her the neighborhood. Okay, now fast forward. They get here. And when they get here, exactly what her mom saw in that dream a month before is exactly how the house looked with everything that she was being shown. So she starts like telling the kids, so the upstairs is gonna be here, there's a store around the corner, there's this and there's that. And my friend is like, how do you know all that? This is our first time here. So anyway, they settle in or whatever. But little did they know that the lady, the church member lady, has been trying to get in contact with them. Now, remember when I told y'all they weren't even close like that, so the lady didn't really have their number when they got here. So this lady is trying really bad to get in contact with them because something else came up. So it takes her a good couple of weeks until she finds a number and finally reaches my mom's friend again. So she calls her and she tells her she has had another dream. And this time, this dream is telling her that the person found out that they got here and they're really not happy about it now. And now she's like, oh, y'all think this is over? It's far from over. We're gonna get you from over there. She was upset that her original plan didn't go through and they actually got here. So my friend's mom gets the message. She gets off the phone. She talks to my friend and her brother and tells them to be very careful because they were about to start school. She starts praying. They even started praying in her house in Haiti too. So it was just like a prayer session. They were constantly praying just in case. So fast forward to like another week after they got that phone call. At this point, my friend and her brother, they're in school and their mom is home. And this had to be around like noon or whatever, right? She hears a knock at the door. She's home alone. Their dad is at work and the kids are in school. So she's like, who could be at the door at this time? She just got here. She ain't got no friends. But then she thinks, oh, maybe the kids had half a day and they're getting here early. She still goes like, who's this? And she hears my friend's voice and her brother saying, hey, it's us. But she asked that all the way from her bedroom because she was about to take a nap and she heard the knock on the door. So she goes to the door, opens the door, and no one is there. So her being tired, she's like, oh, well, maybe they went to the store. They'll be right back. So she closes the door and doesn't lock it, just in case the kids were coming back. But little did she know, the kids were still in school. So my friend and her brother, the kids, they get home from school and they go to greet their mom, only to be greeted with, where y'all been at? It's been hours. So they're like, what? If y'all know Haitian moms, y'all know. She's like, it's been hours. It's been over 2 hours. You guys came home, went to the store, and never came back. Where have you guys been? So they're like, Mommy, we were in school. And she goes, no, y'all came, knocked on the door, told me to open the door, and just disappeared and was gone for hours. And they're like, Mommy, no, school ends at 2:45. What are you talking about? And they're just going back and forth. And at this point, she's starting to think that they didn't even go to school at all and they were just lying about it. And the kids are so confused because they're like, what is going on, Mommy? We were in school. And so in the midst of the back and forth, she gets a phone call from Haiti. So she's like, you know what? Y'all stay right here. Let me take this phone call and I'm going to deal with y'all after. So she goes and she takes the phone call and it's Haiti. And they tell her that they were having a prayer session. And for some reason, the prayer session shifted to her family. And they just started, for some reason, everybody just started praying for her family nonstop. And then it hits her. She now remembers the church member that called in the dream that she had. So in the midst of her being on the phone, Dad gets home. And so the kids are explaining to him, like, we're getting in trouble for no reason. And before Dad could say anything, their mom calls her dad into the room. And I guess she basically explains to him, like, what's happening and what happened earlier. So then her mom changes clothes. She ties her hair up. You know Christians. If you know Haitian Christians, that hair gets tied up, it's prayer time. They come out of the room and they start praying and singing and stuff like that. They took the kids, put the kids in the middle and start praying and singing. And she's praying, she's rebuking the spirit, she's letting them know this is not your house, this is my house, you don't belong here, you need to get out. You know, she gangsta with it. She's eating them spirits up, okay? She's telling them, listen, I know they sent you, but you're gonna go right back to where you came from because you cannot touch me and my husband, and you for sure cannot touch my children. I've told y'all multiple times, that's the attitude you need to have whenever you feel like there's something around. And so the kids are also doing their little prayers too, but they're not as much as prayer warriors as their parents, you know? As they're chasing this spirit out, they start hearing scratches on the front door. It was loud enough for you to know that that's the spirit scratching the door, as if the spirit is trying to get out. It's a lot of scratches. So as soon as they heard that, they start praying even louder. So then the parents went and got holy water and anointing oil and mixed it together. That's a deadly combination right there. But mind y'all, as they're doing this, the kids are still in the middle. All this moving that they're doing, they're still like keeping the kids in the middle as a way to guard them. They did that because spirits love to jump from one vessel to another, especially the weaker vessel. So, and you know, kids are kids and they are the most vulnerable. So as they're praying, they keep them kids in the middle. So they mix the holy water and anointing oil together and they start spraying the house. And this spirit is going crazy at that door. So then the dad goes and opens the door so the spirit can get out. And the moment they open the door, the scratches stop. So now the spirits got out. But that doesn't mean stop praying. So their dad stayed in the apartment with the kids to, you know, still keep them safe. And the mom went around the whole house, floor to floor, room to room, corner to corner, spraying the entire house. And she even went outside to spray the outside of the house to make sure that that spirit is not coming back in. And they prayed and prayed and prayed over the children, prayed over the house, and that spirit left and never came back. And that lady that was trying to get them so bad once again failed. And after that, they never really had problems anymore. She did say she has some other short stories that she would like to tell me to tell y'all, but as far as that case, that was done with. Now, I know a lot of you guys aren't religious, but in my personal opinion, sometimes certain things, only prayer can deliver you from it. That's just me though. But that just goes to say, when you're hearing voices and you're hearing knocks and stuff like that, you have to make sure, look through the peephole, look through the window, don't open that door. Now, her mom did that because she was gangster. She didn't really
she was like, she knew about this kind of stuff, and she was also sleepy too, so she wasn't really thinking. But thank God she was a prayer warrior, because that could have went left real bad.
Hey, my lovelies. So I woke up today and my voice is feeling a little better. So I thought I would take advantage, and it still might go in and out, but scary story time. I have had the story this whole time, and I'm so excited to tell it, but I couldn't because obviously I didn't have a voice. But the person that gave me the story would like to remain anonymous. That's because it's a mermaid story, and she was actually abducted by one, and she would like to tell her story. So let's get into it. She used to live in Haiti, and her house, she used to live in a province, and her house was located very, very close to a river. Her and her friends would go play in the river literally every day, all the time, because it's so much fun. She would have adult supervision sometimes, but her house was just so close to it that you can literally see the river from her house. So sometimes it would just be her and her friends playing there. So anyways, there's this thing that you can do by the river, and I used to do it too, is where you can make your own little pond right next to the river, and it's so much fun to do. So one day, her and her friends decided, let's each make our own pond. And she decided that she was gonna make the biggest pond, the most beautiful pond. She was gonna put fishes in it and everything. And so she started her pond, and basically the way that you do it is you just dig and dig, and eventually the water rises up within your pond, and then you can customize it however. And so that day, her and her friends started, and she made like the biggest pond. She dug it really large. And she was so proud of her pond that she's gonna make and everything that she was gonna do to it. Oh, and I should also add that she said that every time she went to the river and she was playing with her friends, she always felt like she was being watched. Like, it just always felt like there were eyes on her. But she was a kid. She didn't really know what to do with the feeling. She's just here to play. And so she started on her pond. She went home that night and she went to sleep as normal. And that night, she went to sleep and she dreamt that there was this older lady in all white. Even her head was covered in a white scarf. The lady came and put the most beautiful, biggest fish in her pond. And so the next morning, as soon as she woke up, the first thing on her mind was to go check on her pond, and that's what she did. She ran to her pond, and there it was. The fish that she had dreamt about the night before is there in her pond. She said that it spooked her a little bit, but she was also kind of happy about it because she wanted to put fishes in her pond. That was like one of her plans. It was a bit scary, but she was happy about it. Mind you guys, this was early in the morning. She had woken up and her parents were still asleep. And as she was standing there looking at her pond, looking at the fish, kind of spooked, kind of happy, that feeling, that overwhelming feeling of her being watched came over her 10 times. And as soon as she got that feeling, she turned around to face the river, and there it was. She saw a mermaid. She was just kind of frozen because it was just there, staring at her. And then she says, everything went black. So she turns around and she sees the mermaid, and then everything goes black. When she woke up underwater, y'all. Now, if you've been following me, you know that our parents growing up in Haiti, they tell us things to warn us and to just like let us know what to do in case this were to happen. And one of those things is, if you were to ever get abducted, act dumb. Do the opposite of what they tell you to do. So if they tell you to get salt, you get sugar. If they tell you to get rice, you get peas. And the logic behind that is so that they think you're dumb and you'll be a very dumb servant, and they send you back and you're free. So she wakes up and she's underwater and she can breathe. And y'all, she says down there is about the most beautiful thing that you can see. Their houses are mansions. It's just like, it's breathtakingly beautiful. And the mermaids, just as beautiful. Now, when she was telling me this, she purposely left some stuff out because she says she doesn't feel safe saying them, because till this day she's still scarred, like traumatized from the whole situation. So certain details she couldn't give me. She just gave me kind of like an overview, and I understand. I wasn't gonna push it because I know how it goes. So yes, she was a servant. They made her do stuff. They made her do chores. They had a special place for her to stay, but she was still being watched. There were lots and lots of rituals going on almost every day, she said. So one day they take her and they bring her to one of those the ritual celebrations that they were having. And that celebration was over the river on land, but so far from where she used to live at. So like maybe the other side of the river from where her house was. And when they bring her, guess who was there? The lady in all white that she saw in her dream. Now, before I go on with the story, a little backstory. The girl who got abducted, her mom, before she was born, met her dad. Her dad has lots of family that lives out here in the US. So they meet, they fall in love, they marry each other. They have their daughter, which is the girl, and eventually his family files for him so that he can come to the US, and he does. And after like a couple of years, he files for his daughter, which is her, to come to the US. Now, her mom always had this cousin that she has beef with. That cousin was just always so jealous of her. When she got married to her husband, and her husband, was diaspora, his family was diaspora, and he ended up, traveling to the US, that jealousy got so much worse because they lived in a nice house. She has a daughter, and she's not married. She doesn't have any kids. And if you've guessed it already, that's the lady in all white, her cousin. So when her cousin heard that her husband filed for them to come to the US, it was going to be the daughter first and then the wife, she was not having it. And if you've been following me from story times before, I tell you guys, in Haiti, that's a thing. If you're traveling outside of Haiti, going to another country, you keep that a secret because people will hate you for it and they will stop it from happening. And so that's what she did. She sold her cousin's daughter to a mermaid.
Hey guys, I'm so sorry. Part 3 was recorded, but it didn't have no sound. So I had to re-record it, and I just haven't had the time, but now I do. So let's get into it. So the little girl got sold to a mermaid. So anyways, they bring her to this ritual, and she sees this woman, and she recognized this woman to be the woman that she saw in her dream that put that fish in her pond. But she didn't say anything because she was frankly too afraid to say anything. So the ritual happened. They did what they needed to do. The lady came with so many gifts, so many offerings for the mermaids. All was done, and they took her back down there with them. Now at this point, she's missing for about 2 weeks. And her parents, her mom, they're going crazy looking for her. And they had a feeling that it had something to do with voodoo, but they didn't know exactly. It wasn't until her dad, who is in the United States, her dad's mom, which is her grandma, had a dream one night. Now, I just want to go back and say the reason why she doesn't know that that lady is related to her is because her and her mom had been beefing for so long, she never got the chance to meet that lady. I mean, she met the lady, but she was very young. So her grandma has this dream that the little girl and her mom are on their way to the airport. And when they get to the airport, they meet with the security guard, and the security guard happened to be the cousin. And the cousin was standing in front of the airport saying, "Y'all can't come in here. Y'all are not allowed to come in here. Y'all can't come in here." And so she's trying to explain to her, like, we have our plane ticket, like, we're supposed to leave today. And the cousin just kept saying, "No, y'all can't come in here." And the more, like, she's saying it, the angrier she got and the uglier she was getting. And so when they tried to walk past her anyway, she attacks them. She takes the little girl and runs away with her. And then she woke up. And when her grandma woke up and had that dream, she said, "Oh my God, she did it." And she immediately called her son and said, "I know who's behind this and we need to do something." So grandma being grandma takes her son and they fly to Haiti to their house. They take the mom and they go to a voodoo priest to find out where their daughter is. So they do a lot. They bring offerings. They did everything that the voodoo priest told them to do. And the voodoo priest indeed told them that your daughter was sold by your cousin to the mermaids. So they're like, "What can we do? Like, how can we get our child back?" And the voodoo priest, explains to them exactly what to do, the whole ritual, whatever. And so they do what they needed to do. And now from the daughter's perspective, she tells me that she was just there one day and it went all black again, and she was again back to where she was kidnapped by the house. She woke up, she recognized where she was, and it was in the middle of the night. So she walked to her door, knocked on the door.
Her mom answered and immediately started bawling, crying. Of course, she's happy she has her baby back. But she didn't really have her baby back because she couldn't speak. She told me no matter how hard she tried, she just could not speak. Words couldn't come out of her mouth. She told me it took 2 months until she was able to speak again. Now she's back home and, thank God, but grandma wasn't done. When grandma found out what that lady did to her grandchild, she said, I'm gonna take care of it. And so she did what she had to do, and this lady is now, till this day, roaming the streets, if she's alive, roaming the streets crazy. Mentally, she's gone. She's not there. The little girl, she's grown now. She's okay now, but till this day, she says she goes to therapy to try. But therapy doesn't really help because she's going to an American therapist and they don't know how those things work. But she's trying to, till this day, she's still traumatized and she's trying to heal from it. Because like I said to you guys before, there's some details that she wasn't even comfortable telling me because she was so scared. The lesson of the story is, if you are Caribbean or you're Haitian, whatever it is, this should already be known, but do not ever go to the river unsupervised. Don't let your children go to the river unsupervised, and always supervise your children. Supervise. Also, I'm coming out with merch for you guys, so stay tuned for that. I'm very excited about it, but also let me know in the comments what kind of merch you guys would be interested in buying. I want to make it the theme of what we speak about, like scary story times and stuff like that, but I'm not sure if you guys would be into that. So let me know down in the comments.